What's up, Facebook? Hey, for those of you who are teachers, whether you're classroom teacher, music teacher, whether private studio teacher, I'm going to share a few tips based on the last 12 years I've been teaching online that will make your lives a lot easier and make it a lot easier for you to teach your students and keep them engaged. Basically, I see a lot of people going to all these Zoom summits on the future of music education, and my messages to you is simple is better. You're just overcomplicating things, and furthermore, stop going to those summits, listen to a few tips I give you here, and stop planning the future of music education and just start being the future of music education. I mean, a lot of these online capabilities have been around for, like at least 12 years. That's when I started teaching online. And so here are some of the top things I've learned. The first thing is really probably the most important, and that is that good teaching is good teaching. But this is really an opportunity for you to remember that and reflect on it, because if you're used to teaching live and you rely on all the rituals and all the specifics of that live scenario, bringing you into the online situation where there's different limits placed on you, it's really an opportunity to go into the fundamentals of what teaching is. And so the things that make you a good teacher, from what I've heard from teachers over the years as I've been studying to be a good teacher, is number one, come from a place of love. Number two, come to your students at their level. And number three, be a step or two ahead of them. And so the biggest tip is this doesn't change if you're online or you're in person. These are the things that make you a good teacher. If you focus on these things, all the specifics of whether you use this app or that app, it's easy because the intention and the focus is there. It's like you've got the forest, and so then you can find the trees. I don't know, I messed that analogy up. But that third thing, which is about being 2 steps ahead of your student, one thing about that is you don't even need to be 2 steps ahead of your student. You can be learning things along with your students. And so like if you curate, one of the nice things about online teaching is you can curate content for your students. It doesn't even have to be your content. You can point them or connect them to content from people like me. Like I have play along lessons that are great little snippets of content. And just as an example, you could simply forward one of my teaching videos to one of your students, and I do them in all levels from age 9 to professional. You could send it to them and be like, hey, record yourself, play along with this play along video and send it back to me. And then, so right there, you're giving them a deadline, some accountability, you're connecting to them to some content that's gonna be good for them at their level, and then you're asking them to send it back to you so that you could give them feedback and assessment. It's just like one example of a super simple way to create a result for your students, because then you're gonna give them the ability to do something independent, promoting their own independent learning, something that's engaging for them, and you're going to give them that accountability where they can send something back to you by a certain time. But also they're going to have something when they make that video of themselves. It's something that they can reflect on, they can learn a lot more from, and then they can share it with people and they can feel pride about it. And that's going to keep them sustainably moving forward with their instrument, with their music, with their practice. So don't overcomplicate it. But that's the first point, is that those 3 things, just remember those 3 things. The things that make you a good teacher, you can do that online, you can do that offline, it doesn't matter. It's really about having a critical thinking approach and a focus on that intention. Being there for a student, giving the students the ability to get some kind of assessment from you. Giving them some accountability, giving them some positive reinforcement. You can do this from a phone booth. You can do this from snail mail, literally. It's just amazing to me how many people are overcomplicating this. And I'm not saying that it's not hard to make a transition, or that I don't feel compassion about that, and that there's different situations for people who are in classrooms managing 200 kids or whatever. I get that it's a challenge. We're all challenged by the situation. But what I'm saying is it's totally doable if you simplify. And especially if you get rid of some of the specific details and baggage of the ways that you've done things before. A lot of those things were details. Like if you're so focused on teaching them how to do this kind of bow hold, maybe just let that go. Maybe it's not that important. Maybe it's more important that they're just engaging. Maybe, maybe it's more important that your student is just engaging in something meaningful. Even if their bow hold isn't right, even if their left hand isn't right. Maybe that's not the most important thing from a musical practice. Another way to say this is, in my opinion, that our role as a teacher, if we're helping someone with music practice or with anything, is really to help them to become better friends to themselves. It's not to teach them a perfect bow hold. Music, the practice of music, learning the violin or whatever it might be, it's just a vehicle for them to grow as a person, to experience the resistance they have around this thing that happens to be the violin, that happens to be music, and to get through it, and to engage in a meaningful and a productive, positive way in their own pursuit of growth, so that they can become a better friend of themselves, and then through that they can connect with other people in a powerful way. And so the thing is that for me and for you, the teacher, we have our own resistance in this process too. We have our own insecurities, we have our own baggage, and that's why we're so attached to the ways that we've been doing things. And so that's part of what I'm really saying to you, is get over yourself. Remember that part of being of service to your students is having that honest self-awareness and being a friend to yourself. And part of that is just knowing that you're not perfect. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to know everything about music. This is one of the things I've learned from 25 years of being the jazz violin player, or associated with the jazz violin player. So many people in the classical space feel threatened by it. And part of that is, they feel threatened by the idea of exploring skills outside of what they were trained with, right? But why? Why? Well, I think for a lot of us, it's just because of our own insecurities, because we don't want to expose ourselves as not having all the answers. But a good teacher should really be super transparent about not having all the answers, because you just want to show up for your students and be there for them. And I think a teacher models that they don't have all the answers. So that's again why you don't need to have those answers. You don't need to always be 2 steps ahead of the student. You could be learning along with them. You could be showing them that, like, I don't know the answer to this question. Let's learn it together. What do you think we should do? Again, you could be like, find somebody that has the answer. Maybe it's me. Maybe you go to my website. Maybe you look at my play along videos and you're like, let's look at this. I heard about this. What do you think? Let's look at it together. That's easy to do. All you have to do is be willing and have that openness in your heart and get past your own, get over yourself, really. All right, so moving on. Well, again, I'm gonna bring it back to these play along lessons, which is just one of many resources that I'm offering. If you're a teacher, you can license a lot of my curriculum. You can share it with your entire district, with your classroom. There's a lot of different things that I teach through a lot of different courses, but part of the reason that I have really latched onto and continued to do these simple play along videos, since March 15th, I have published over 120 free on my YouTube channel. It's a YouTube video. There is not a piece of technology out there right now that is not easier for anybody to use. It's the easiest thing. I don't need to tell you how to use it. You send a kid a link and you say, look at this video, play along to it, and record yourself doing it on another device. And then send me a link to your video. But let me just talk about why the play along videos, why I think they're great. And it goes with what I've been saying, that simpler is better. Because the way to work online teaching students is that you want to use the easiest way for you to get your message out, and you want to reach a student in the easiest way for them to be reached by that message. So examples of that are email, phone, Facebook Messenger, video chat, Zoom, whatever. There's lots of ways. It could be a mobile phone call. But a video is a really super, it falls into that category. It's a really super easy way to do it. You can use all these other apps, and some of them are good and some of them are easy, and it's fun, and bottom line is whatever works for you, but you don't have to do an app. You don't have to do acapella, you don't have to do Soundtrap, you don't have to do whatever they are. You can, but just do whatever is easiest and works. And that's part of why I love these play-along lesson formats. And I'll try to add a link for anybody here that's on the replay. But here's why I like it. It teaches kids, again, it promotes their independent learning. So me and my wife, we have our 10-year-old is with us. My oldest one is out of the house, but our 10-year-old is here. And I have seen how hard it is to get a 10-year-old to teach a 10-year-old with remote learning. It's like they only have so much energy to be on a Zoom call with people. So you want to give kids something that they can easily engage with and just make it easy. So these play-along lessons, it's like 5 minutes. They know how to do it. You just say, follow the play-along lesson and play on your violin. It promotes independence for the student. Again, they can easily record themselves, and when they record themselves, then they're going to listen back to their recording and they're going to hear themselves and reflect on it. And that is the single best way for anybody to improve is to record yourself and listen back and hear yourself, especially in a context, because these play-along lessons it'll have the backing track, it'll have the beat, so you can hear how they're fitting everything they do over the beat, over the groove, over the backup, whatever you want to call it. But then that also gives that kid the ability to then take pride in the thing that they made and to share it with their parents, to share it with their grandparents in an asynchronous way. It's like they can send the video here, they can send the video there, and they can get feedback on it for days at different times. Grandpa's, hey, I heard your video, it was so great, you know. Your aunt, the cousins, like everybody can see that YouTube video. And it's really easy to do that because if your student has their own YouTube channel, then they can simply create videos which are unlisted. And all that means is that you're giving permission to watch the video only to anybody that has the link. So you don't have to share it publicly. So the pride, which then gives that student that sustainability, like they keep going, which is what you want them to do. These play-along lesson style videos, they really teach like that kid to be, they can teach the kid to be like really a whole musician. Like you can teach to like many parts of musicianship, like ear training, rhythm, ensemble, right hand, left hand, theory, and other stuff. You know, like just so much that you can teach in this format. And it saves you tons of time. Again, it saves you tons of time. So teaching doesn't have to be always this linear thing where it's like, show up and work with me for an hour every Wednesday. It can be like, show up for 20 minutes on Wednesday, we're gonna talk, I'm gonna give you your assignments, and then throughout the course of the week, send me a video by this time, send me a video by this time. Maybe you make a little short 5-minute video for them and you give them feedback, or you make a little short demonstration video for them. Maybe you send them emails. You can send emails to all your students with like inspirational ideas, with like lesson assignment possibilities for them. There's so much you can do by automating in simple ways. Like you can put everybody, it doesn't have to be fancy technology. The last thing I'll say about it is when you're teaching your own teaching videos. Like, first of all, again, there's no reason you can't just curate and use other people's content and connect that content with your students. You can connect my content with your students. It's totally free. Then I have deeper content and stuff, premium content you can pay for too, but I'll link to, you just go to my website, christianhouse.com. 120 free play along lessons, and I'm publishing them basically every day, every other day. At least 3 videos a week I'm publishing, all levels. So connect that content to your students. But if you want to make your own video content, teaching content, stop overcomplicating that. And here's how. All you need to do is just teach to one student, teach to one question. That's it. That's the answer. So if you have an interaction with a student and you realize, I need to teach this student this one thing, that's it. Teach it, and then make a note, and then go stand in front of the camera just like I am right now and teach that thing to the camera. That's it. That's it. And then you teach that one thing to that one student, you put it on video. If you're not happy with it, do another take, but don't overthink it. This is my phone. There's no apps here. I just push record. I'm standing in front of you and I'm teaching you something. That's it. Get over yourself. Do it. If you want to, but you don't have to. You can curate other content. You can be a great teacher. And there's things that you're not ready to teach because you don't know it, and that's fine. Curate that. But if there is something you can teach that student, teach it. And then share it with your other students and connect it to other people who can benefit from you. And that's a way to then also promote your services and market your services and market your program. It could be your school program, your school orchestra program, or it could be your private Suzuki studio or whatever. You take the content that you teach to one person and you market it. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm teaching you a thing that was actually something that I taught somebody yesterday. It was a teacher training. They brought me in for a school district to teach a bunch of teachers, and I made some notes on it, and I talked about it yesterday, and I noticed that what worked, what didn't work, and I was like, I'm going to teach this on Facebook, because then that way I'm connecting the same thing I taught, I'm connecting it to you, and then it's going to sit here and people on the replay are going to look at it. You can do the same thing, and it's not deep, and it's not about apps. Stop going to Zoom conferences on the future of music education. Start being the future of music education. Get over yourself. You're a teacher. I acknowledge you for the hard work you do as a teacher. And what I'm saying is you don't need to be perfect. Just let go of all that baggage. And reach out for support if you need support. Reach out to me for support. I support teachers in teaching online. I support musicians and teachers in their entrepreneurial development in terms of marketing. In fact, this Sunday, I'm going to be hosting with my friend Evan Greger. We're going to host a 2-hour like Zoom class mastermind just on entrepreneurship for freelancers who are trying to pivot. So if you're interested in that, reach out to me, hit me up. I want to say hello to some people here. Elizabeth, good to see you. I appreciate, see Elizabeth, I acknowledge you because you're a teacher that has been willing to reach out for support, you know, to go beyond your comfort zone, to find whatever way you can to reach your students. Felipe, good to see you. Carla, good to see you. Stephen, Eli, Ashley, North Carolina in the house. Steve, and Michelle. So anyway, good to see you guys. If you want some support from me, like I said, hit me up in a PM, whatever it might be. And or go to the website, christianhouse.com. Just look for the play along videos and use those with your students. Take care.